Floods in central and Gulf provinces leave many stranded. Planning Department begins exercise on National Identity Project. And Higher Education Minister says government will not increase student intake.
This is National EMTV News with Tokana Hasavi.
A very good evening to you and welcome to Wednesday's news. Good to have your company. A section of the Hiri Highway linking Port Moresby to Karama in the Gulf province has been washed away by floods, leaving hundreds of passengers stranded. The Keve Creek at Inawa village between Berena and Malalawa stations washed away the culvert and completely separated the two sections of the road. It's now been 5 days since the disaster, but relevant authorities are slow in responding.
Passengers traveling to and from Port Moresby along the Hiri Highway are facing tough situations. They have to carry their belongings and cross this section of the road. Since last Saturday, the Keve Creek at Inawi village washed away the culvert after 3 days of heavy rainfall. PMVs traveling to Gulf province and those coming to Port Moresby have had to stop on each side of the road and exchange passengers. Locals are capitalizing on the situation by setting up roadside markets and collecting fees by assisting people with heavy loads. But yesterday, when EMTV visited the site, the water level had dropped and people were crossing freely. But PMV drivers have expressed concerns that they are making less profit and have called on authorities to fix the road quickly.
Now yet mi plaga MP lo iri Kairuku staff so minap lo triple MP lo kerema lo come down one kind no se mau come down.
A local contractor, TRB Contractors, has voluntarily used its machines to clean debris and make a temporary path.
Bypass should be completed today. Nabamla opening up traffic. But the main one, I think before the end of the week, we should complete everything.
The Hiri Highway is a national government road. Kairuku-Hiri MP Peter Isoaimo said the road's foundation is weakening after many years and the government needs to consider this.
Engineering aspect of it leaves a lot to be decided if it's going to be breaking through like this.
This section of the road still remains, and if rain continues today, it may be a disaster this time. In a media statement released today, Works Secretary David Were has reassured the traveling public that Dekanai Construction has been deployed to rectify the situation and restore normalcy. Quintan Alomp, National EMTV News.
The much talked about PNG National Identity Project was trialled today in Port Moresby with the rollout of a mock exercise. National Planning Minister Charles Abel said the project is important and risky and needs support from governments and development partners.
The National Identity Project is a benchmark set by the government to include all citizens in its plans and priorities. Despite the rainy conditions in Port Moresby today, it was a good turnout by the public at the National Statistics Office to undergo the trial exercise of registering their identities.
But particularly today was just to update you all on the rollout aspect of it and the training that has been underway to train up some 350 young Papua New Guineans to conduct the registration exercise starting later this month.
The PNG NID project is an identification card system that contains personal information of all citizens. It gives the Civil Registry and National Statistics Office the upper hand when it comes to collating proper data and statistics of PNG and be current with the national census and electoral roll. It will also help the government to provide vital services and will include other benefits of having access to small business loans, opening new bank accounts, subsidized healthcare and school fees. People with special needs and those underprivileged can present their ID cards to get pensions. However, Minister Abel on a radio talk show today said there are anticipating hiccups or issues to the implementation of this project.
We will do our very best to register the whole country, But it may well be that we only get 70% of it done.
To avoid the risk, the minister urged the bureaucracy and the public to making sure the system is supported, maintained, utilized and is continuing. Vasinata Yama, National EMTV News.
National Planning and Monitoring Minister Charles Abel said his department is preparing to roll out 3 new policies. 2 of these policies, the water and sanitation and population policies, were recently endorsed by the National Executive Council. The department is still working on the foreign aid policy.
Minister Abel said all 3 policies contain principles from the department's main policy, which is the Responsible Sustainable Development Strategy. In the population policy, much emphasis is placed on human development and proper child upbringing. Abel said the policy will create a framework aimed at decreasing the number of children born to a family, but stressed that the policy will not determine the number of children a family decides to have.
The bottom line is that we want to move towards sustainable population growth. We need to get our population growth rate down from above 4 children per woman at the moment to down to about 3 and then about 2.1 per woman. But we're not going to force anybody.
The policy will ensure all wards in PNG have a community aid post, including all necessary tools for family planning and counseling. It will act as a guideline for parents and aims to minimize the high child and maternal mortality cases encountered in remote Papua New Guinea.
And then we know that when women are educated and men are educated, they choose to have lesser children and they choose to they look after those children better.
For the water and sanitation policy, it will focus on providing clean and safer drinking water to all PNG communities. At the same time, where possible, it will look at using water for generating electricity.
And try to use water as a strategic asset as well, in terms of selling water, but also in terms of using water to generate electricity.
Tekla Gunga, National EMTV News.
Member for Goilala, Daniel Mona, has died. Prime Minister Peter O'Neill has expressed his sorrow at his untimely passing. The late Mr. Mona died in Manila on Tuesday, where he was receiving medical attention since late last year for a severe malarial condition. The government has not received a full report yet on Mr. Mona's condition prior to his passing. On behalf of the government and the People's National Congress Party, Mr. O'Neill expressed sympathies and condolences to the immediate Mona family and also to the people of Goilala District on this sad occasion. Minister for Higher Education, Malakai Tabar, says the plan to increase student intakes this year will not work. Tabar says allocated funding to increase enrollment spaces have been diverted to other areas. The minister was in Lae today for the orientation of new intakes at the University of Technology when he made the announcements.
The Higher Education Minister says the move taken to increase the number of students at the University of Technology and the University of Papua New Guinea may not happen this year.
Increase intake, it means the institution must be given additional funding. One, to extend the structures that are to be used to accommodate the learning of students. But secondly, to also look after the staff and the programs that are being administered through the different programs. Unfortunately, I'll say this, unfortunately, we didn't get the money.
The move taken by the Office of Higher Education was to increase enrollment spaces in the 2 institutions so that it caters to the growing number of students left out of the education system. The focus was to establish open university centers affiliated to the 2 universities.
This year, UPNG and Unitec have taken a stationary intake. We hope to grow through our satellite campuses, which we should establish at least one of them this year.
The expenditures were included in the 2015 national budget handed down in November last year, but the money has been diverted to other areas, the minister said.
Unfortunately, the government has got the South Pacific Games to look after, and you know the timeline, the facilities that are being worked on, we might not have those facilities in place by the time we get the games on.
The Higher Education Department was given an option, and that is to borrow money from other sources. But Minister Tabar says he is negotiating with the Finance and Treasury Department to get their money. Edwin Fidelis, National EMTV News, Leh.
The Papua New Guinea University of Technology is now aiming for higher achievements in 2015 following student crisis last year. Chancellor Sir Nagora Bogan says despite the many uncertainties, Unitech needs good leadership in order to excel in its academic performance. The Chancellor made these remarks when meeting with Higher Education Minister Malakai Tabar in Leh this morning.
While registration and orientation for students at the University of Technology is expected to continue in the coming weeks, the University's Council is optimistic in making Unitech fly in 2015. This morning, the Higher Education Minister Malakai Tabar was in campus to conduct orientation for the students. This year, Unitech is expecting more than 3,000 students to register.
Student strike and a standoff between the government. I want to say that is now over.
Chancellor Sir Nagora Bogan says the student strikes and boycott of classes in 2014 are now a thing of the past. Unitech is now aiming for high academic performance and achievements.
Everything rises and falls on good leadership. You put good leaders in institutions, you put good leaders in corporate world, you put good leaders in public sector, then you will make a difference.
Following the suspension of Vice Chancellor Dr. Albert Schramm, students went on to strike to get government support. For several weeks, the Unitech saga brought to light many outstanding issues within the university's council. An independent investigation team was set up, and the findings led to the reinstatement of Dr. Schramm as the university's Vice Chancellor.
I want to confirm also that the last council meeting, we confirm and renew the Vice Chancellor's term for another term. So Vice Chancellor is now substantive again for another full term. He deserves to be given another go, given the difficulties and the challenges that he went through to his personal detriment, but yet he believed in the principle and not letting students down and not letting this country down.
Sir Nagora also highlighted that Unitech has undergone massive changes under the leadership of Dr. Albert Schramm. He says the university's council is confident with the government and the students to see many new improvements in the coming months. Sylvester Gawi, National EMTV News, Leh.
The Department of Higher Education is concerned about reimbursements to university students who are recipients of government scholarships. Higher Education Minister Malakai Tabar said some university students who are already on scholarship and who also get assistance from their local members of parliament ask for reimbursement from the university because the total amount of money paid to the institution is more than the total fee for that academic year. He appealed to universities not to reimburse any government monies either from the members' funds or from TESA scholarships.
The concerns were raised at a recent media conference where Minister Tabar and Acting Secretary Professor David Kavanamur said the issue comes as a result of the existence of multiple scholarships. He said university students should not ask their institutions for reimbursement of government monies either from their MP's funds or TESA scholarship. He said this practice was corruption.
Some of our students are going back to the universities and asking for reimbursement because the total amount of money that has been paid to the universities is more than their total fee for that academic year at the university. So, for example, one student has basically got a scholarship and has got 5,000 something kina. He goes back to his member of parliament, gets another 3,000 or another 4,000. It works up to 9,000. His fee is only 5,000. He goes back to the university and asks for a reimbursement of his members' fee. I think that's not fair. That's not good. it's corruption.
He said a lot of parents are having difficulty meeting fees for certain tertiary institutions. He urged students who already have scholarships to be honest and refrain from asking the government through their local members for more funds. Mr. Tabar also urged universities not to reimburse any government monies.
Now I appeal to the universities, do not reimburse any monies.
The student can seek a reimbursement is on the parental component where they're paying. This situation has come about because of the existence of multiple scholarships.
Professor Kavanamur also urged MPs to advise the Ministry and Department of Higher Education of the existence of their scholarship schemes.
We do understand that they're setting up scholarship offices in the districts and in the provinces, but the bottom line is that they're all public funds, and we need to report that accordingly.
Delhi Bagu, National EMTV News.
And in the news ahead, more support for the re-engagement of the Special Task Force, also on the Commander's Church Parade, and Treasury Minister approves Gulf Provincial Budget. I'll be back with the details and more after the break. Good to have you back with the news. The momentum to re-engage the Special Task Force on illegal immigrants has increased in the last 2 weeks. Citizens have expressed anger on social media on the increase of foreigners and illegal immigrants. While the government, through Chief Secretary Sir Manasupe Zurino, says the government is considering the issue, the delay lies with the Chief Migration Officer, who is yet to present an overall performance report.
While the government is awaiting the report on the Special Immigration Task Force set up in 2012, the number of illegal immigrants and illegal activities have increased. Following the arrest of 3 Chinese nationals for the attempted murder of a G4 security guard, another Filipino national was also arrested for using obscene language on a PNG citizen and appeared before the Boroko District Court, where the case has been adjourned to 29 February this year. Also in Leh, a businessman from Singapore was arrested by police for smuggling firearms into the country. The matter is before the courts. The increased number of foreigners engaged in disreputable activities and breaching PNG laws has prompted calls for the re-engagement of the Immigration Task Force. Northern Governor Gary Jufa recently gave his support. In a recent interview with Chief Secretary to the government, Sir Manasupe Zurino, he said the government was considering re-engaging the immigration force. However, whether the government will re-engage the Immigration Task Force depends entirely on the report from the Chief Migration Officer, who is yet to give a formal report on the Special Task Force operations set up in 2012. Bridget Komatep, National EMTV News.
A high level of performance is expected from all serving members of the Papua New Guinea Defence Force going forward. Papua New Guinea Defence Force Commander Brigadier General Gilbert Toropo told soldiers during the Commander's Church Parade today. He says PNGDF is a national institution and the nation demands better from its force.
As the operational year begins, 7 members of the Papua New Guinea Defence Force are being reminded through the church parade to be committed to their mandated duties. Reverend Samson Loa told soldiers not to get involved in civilian affairs that will bring the force into disrepute. He says discipline has been compromised many times and it is time soldiers take a stand to make a difference. A desire to dedicate their service and to get back into the system of the military must be cultivated to be a better soldier, Law says. Commander Brigadier General Gilbert Toropo wants the best from his men this year, urging them to perform to the highest level. Toropo says the national government expects the force to deliver and they are committed to this challenge. Mickey Cavera, National EMTV News.
Chairman of the Parliamentary Referral Committee on Education and Wabeg MP, Robert Ganim, says there is no need for another public hearing on teachers' leave entitlements. In a statement, Mr. Ganim said his committee has already investigated the issue and recommendations will be presented to Parliament in this month's sitting. He was responding to recent calls by Goroka MP Bire Kimisopa to conduct another public inquiry on teachers' leave entitlements.
Chairman Ganim assured teachers that the issue of leave fares and entitlements have been attended to in detail and is awaiting Parliament's approval to implement the changes in the system that could provide long-term solutions to teachers' problems in the country. He reminded the 48,000 teachers that their issues are not overnight problems, so they must understand. As schools have resumed classes, Mr. Ganim urged teachers to refrain from taking out industrial actions that could disrupt classes. Some recommendations put forward by the Parliamentary Referral Committee on Education include the need to review functions of Teaching Service Commission and the Education Department, review and define teacher salaries, allowances and entitlements. Also, the need to review teachers' appointment process and decentralize a LESCO pay system to provincial education authorities. All other recommendations will be presented by Chairman Ganim in Parliament on February 10. Bridget Komatep, National EMTV News.
The legal fraternity in Madang opened its legal year recently with the theme "To Serve Without Fear or Favor." Guest Judge Justice Bernard Sakura told judges, magistrates and law practitioners that their task is huge in carrying the justice system. The dedication system was held at the Madang Holy Trinity Anglican Church.
Members of the legal fraternity opened the legal year with a march from Madang town to the Trinity Anglican Church. Police and Correctional Institute officers led the way, followed by guest judge Justice Bernard Sakura, resident judge David Kennings and law practitioners. The dedication service began with prayers and hymns of praise. In his opening remarks, guest judge Justice Sakura told the legal society that the practicing for justice is important according to law.
Our task invested in and mandated to us, judges and magistrates and practitioners of the profession of law, by the supreme law of the land, the Constitution, and all the laws that have been made under it.
Sakura said it's a mammoth and serious task in establishing and minding justice for the people. Madang Governor Jim Kass said Madang has changed over the years and a strong and vibrant justice system is needed. The courts and legal services are now open for the public in Madang.
All the law-abiding citizens to respect or to actually know that there is law. There is law in the land.
Jack Lapave Jr., National EMTV News.
Kairuku-Hiri MP Peter Isoaimo has described the discharging of mine waste from Tolokuma gold mine into the rivers as a clear sign of genocide. Mr. Isoaimo says he is waiting for the Mekeo Council of Chiefs and the Council Presidents to pass a resolution to seek legal compensation. The Mekeo people living along the Angabanga River are now feeling the impact of the mine's activity upstream.
Mr. Isoaimo says the waste from Tolokuma gold mine in the Goilala district, inland of East Kairuku district, is becoming a concern for people living downstream. He says after 20 years, the impact of the mine's activity upstream can be seen by the Mekeo people living along the Angabanga River. He described this as genocide and went on to say it has caused the buildup of sediment.
Where a lot of the tailings dam, mine tailings is dumped through Angabanga River in, polluting the river as well as, in the last 20 years we got sediment build up now, and we are dealing with human beings. This is a clear sign of genocide. It goes to show that they want to wipe out the whole tribe of Mekeo and the Roros living at the delta of this river system.
The Kairuku-Hiri MP says studies carried out by Oxfam Australia 10 years ago and one recently by Dr. Sylvester Kotapu found that there is evidence to prove that people's bloodstreams are contaminated. The Mekeo Chief of Councils and the Council Presidents will pass a resolution, and the MP says he has no choice but to seek legal action.
I am awaiting my Council President and the Mekeo and Roro Council of Chiefs to come forward. And whatever resolution they come up with, I have no choice but to support them file legal suits, to be fairly compensated.
The Angabanga River is now overflowing like never before and sediment is piling up. This is affecting food crops and road networks into inland Mekio. Infrastructure developments, roads and people's access to services are difficult in such weather conditions. Quinten Alomp, National EMTV News.
Treasury Minister Patrick Pruach has approved the 2015 Gulf Provincial Budget of 115 million kina. Gulf Governor Havila Kavo said the budget is rural-based, with emphasis now on leaders to define development plans with the Provincial Annual Plan. The budget was approved on the 30th of January this year.
The Gulf Provincial Budget brings much anticipation for improving lives of women, children and men in Gulf. The province is one of the least developed places in PNG, but Gulf Governor Havila Kavo said the 2 MPs and 10 LLG presidents must now put their heads together to see the budget implemented fruitfully. 6 priority areas to be captured include macroeconomic strategy, infrastructure development, road construction and maintenance, education, health and agriculture.
And we want to see that Gulf budget is focused to the rural population and to our rural people, so that rural people who have missed out for many years could see government presence and services being delivered at their doorsteps.
Kavo said the provincial administration remains committed to realize target outcomes in its 10-year development plan of 2010 to 2020. But the outcome remains a challenge for public servants in Gulf to restore and strengthen the public service mechanism and bring confidence to the people.
The administration is committed to implement the 2015 budget. It will be as early as next week. As we have the budget inputted into the bigger system, we will start rolling the budget and implementing our priority activities, priority projects and programs.
Meanwhile, Governor Kavo said the Provincial Executive Council has decided to outsource audit for all funds backdating to 2012.
We are now outsourcing audit team from outside of the province. Any claims that come into Treasury without defined annual activity plans will not be entertained.
The Gulf Provincial Administration is opening its doors for an open dialogue with Gulf elites or any stakeholder for development purposes. Jack Lapave Jr., National EMTV News.
And now we take a look at the finance news. The kina closed unchanged at $0.3815 in the interbank market, and at Bank South Pacific, your kina was buying $0.374 $0.4779 Australian dollars, €0.323 and 43.55 Japanese yen. Looking at commodity prices at New York close, gold, cocoa and copper closed higher, while coffee closed lower. Palm oil and crude oil closed higher, while copper closed the day unchanged. And lastly, on the stock market, the Dow Jones closed at 305 points higher, the ASX closed at 154 points higher, and the All Ordinaries closed at 62 points higher. You're watching National EMTV News. Among stories after the break, Jordan retaliates for the brutal murder of its citizen by ISIS. Stay with us. Thanks for your company and welcome back to the news. Disabled children attending the Morobe Special Education Resource Centre were locked out of their classrooms yesterday, causing frustrations among parents and staff. Speaking to MTV, many parents expressed disappointment at not being informed. MTV's Sylvester Gawe has this report from Leh.
The Morobe Special Education Resource Centre is one facility that caters for disabled children from all over Morobe province. It provides them the opportunity to learn basic methods of reading, writing and communication with other students in school. But what that has become a frustration for parents is the classrooms being locked without any form of notice from the school authority.
Come on, please, now you best stop and look, sir, look, cry, don't blow Papa, Mama, na. Or we best stop, where would they go? I must have lost it down.
Many parents have also called for the provincial government's intervention to establish more learning facilities for disabled children in Morobe province. They don't want the disabled children to be enrolled at mainstream schools, which they won't be given special attention on how they learn. They say the Resource Center's incentive learning program allows disabled children to learn and communicate with other normal kids, and that will prepare them for mainstream schools.
Key must come, na door must lock. Na next week Monday, ogata specially pigini want a car, ogata bakam back to school. Or pigini blompa bakam. Most stop nothing loud, ogata bakam. All mouse pass blow me plan a yaw pass, no will say pigini stop, ogata must come back to school.
Meanwhile, the school's board chairman told EMTV this afternoon that parents should not be intimidated by the teaching staff, as the school is subject to directives from the education board. He also assured parents that their children would resume learning as soon as teachers' issues are sorted out. Sylvester Gawi, National EMTV News, Leh.
A new 50-bed ward was approved for use today by the Morobe Provincial Building Board after 6 months of bureaucratic delays. It is one of 3 wards awaiting approval. Chief Executive Officer Dr. Jim Abrahams says the wards were built to reduce the number of patients lying on the floor waiting for treatment at the A&E. Leh's Anga Hospital accident and emergency wards overcrowding has been an ongoing problem for many years.
Over the years, some of the hospital's buildings have slowly eaten away by termites, but Angao has seen infrastructure developments for the past 12 months. The hospital board and management's upgrade plan has seen the construction of 3 new 50-bed wards.
Again, all of that brought on by the addition of the brand new wards. Now, that's only 3 wards. You can imagine what happens when the other 5 wards get built. And let me tell you that the 5 wards that we want to build with maternity, the staff accommodation unit, the shed for a morgue and kitchen and supplies depot, all of that can take 8 months to build.
One of these 3 new wards has been completely rebuilt, with 50 new beds opened today. According to Angao CEO Dr. Jim Abrahams, the ward was ready to be opened in July last year, but bureaucratic bottlenecks at the Morobe Provincial Building Board delayed the opening of the building. Angao's Accidents and Emergency Ward takes up the largest number of patients, to be admitted over 300 patients per day.
Because of the overcrowding. Most of the reason for overcrowding in accident and emergencies all over the world is that people who shouldn't be there go there for treatment.
The newly completed 50-bed ward is aimed at reducing the number of patients lying on the floor at the accident and emergency area waiting for treatment. Colin Barilai, National EMTV News, Leh.
Teachers of Southfly District in Western Province have called on their provincial government to ensure that all their leave fare entitlements are paid on time. Teachers claim delay of payments is ongoing and must stop because they can walk out of the classroom anytime. MTV's Fabian Hucklitz was in Dara this week and has more on this report.
While the 2015 academic year has resumed throughout the country, in Southfly District of Western Province, it's a different story. Yesterday, teachers conducted a strike relating to outstanding leave fares and entitlements. Western Province PNG Teachers Association President Rose Kehani told MTV News the Fly River provincial government have failed to address their demands.
Even if they write and tell us that, assure us that you go back to classes on this date, we'll pay you, we won't believe in that. We want to see it in black and white, and entitlements, one of our recommendations is, or demand is to be paid into teachers' account cash.
Teachers said these ongoing issues, delaying leave fare and entitlements, have denied their rights to spend the festive season with their families at respective provinces. Demands are now before the education authorities to deposit payments right into their personal bank accounts.
And I'm saving here already for 22 years. And I want leave fares for teachers to be paid directly into their personal accounts.
We have been giving service to this province, and the province should be proud of what we have done here and honor the commitment it has made to give us our leave fares in time so that we get home, enjoy our holiday at home, and come back and to continue to give our service to the province.
Therefore, I will back up the teachers that such course that they have taken, it is serious, and then those responsible must be brought before the justice.
Yesterday, teachers staged a protest march to the Provincial Education Office and demanded explanation from the authorities. While teachers were still outside, EMTV conducted an interview with Principal Advisor Education, Nancy Barry, who claimed the Treasury Office in Kiunga failed the process of facilitating payments. However, he assured payments should be ready by the end of this month.
And resulting in all our teachers missing out on their leave fares to their own provinces and to their own places. And that has become an outstanding for us in the province now.
Following the meeting yesterday, Mrs. Gani said teachers were satisfied with the assurance given by the provincial education authorities and will resume normal duties. However, the demand still stands. Fabian Hakelitz, National EMTV News.
Turning to international headlines now, Islamic State militants have released graphic video showing the murder of the captured Jordanian pilot. Jordan's government has been trying to negotiate his release before he was killed.
The sadistic murder of the 26-year-old Jordanian pilot, put in a cage and then set on fire in images ABC News will not broadcast, shocked a world today that thought it could no longer be shocked by ISIS, whose fighters stood watch over the grisly scene.
It's just one more indication of the viciousness and barbarity of this organization.
The pilot was flying a bombing mission as part of the U.S. coalition against ISIS when his plane went down last December. First Lieutenant Moaz al-Kasasbeh was captured almost immediately, and until today, Jordan had held out hope he was still alive, although officials said tonight he was probably killed almost a month ago. Jordan's King Abdullah was in Washington on Capitol Hill when the video was first posted online, declining to comment.
Your Majesty.
But in a statement broadcast late tonight on Jordanian TV, the king called the pilot a hero and urged his people to show their mettle in now confronting ISIS. Across Jordan tonight, emotions ran high and there were calls for revenge as the father of the pilot and others viewed the gruesome video.
At some point, this kind of act backfires on a group like ISIS.
Tonight in Jordan, the first signs of retaliation as officials prepare to execute a group of al-Qaeda prisoners held on death row, which could include the failed female suicide bomber who Jordan had offered to swap for the pilot.
On the same note, Jordan has in fact executed 2 prisoners in retaliation over the brutal murder of the pilot, including the female suicide bomber wanted for release by the Islamic State. Well, that's a take on our news segment tonight. We've got True Guy Sports coming up next, and I'll give you all the details after the break. Stay with us.
True Guy Sports.
Welcome to True Guy Sports. Well, security for the Pacific Games is guaranteed. Papua New Guinea Defence Force Commander Brigadier General Gilbert Toropo says all necessary steps are being taken to ensure the safety of all the athletes. He was speaking at today's Commander's Mass at the Sione Kami Memorial Church.
Come July 4th, 8,000 athletes and officials from the Pacific will descend upon our shores for the Pacific Games. This major international event warrants a high level of security. According to the commander of Papua New Guinea Defence Force, General Gilbert Toropo, his men stands ready to assist in security. He says through joint exercise with the Australian counterparts, they were able to develop proper security plans for the Games. They will be working with personnel from the police and correctional service in securing the Games. Soldiers are being urged to be on high alert to effectively execute their duties during the Games. Rafaela Kaure, National EMTV Sports.
3 days out from what will be PNG Rugby Football Union's biggest gig in 10 years, Fijian coach Fereti Verabula, who coached the PNG Sevens with the help of the ACT Brumbies to victory in 2014, has tendered his resignation. Team manager Billy Rapilla has stepped up to the job, resuming his former role as national coach with Graham Osborne as team manager.
The SB Export PNG Sevens have had a remarkable year in 2014. From training under a strict high-performance regime with the ACT Brumbies to qualifying for the HSBC Wellington Sevens. Late last year, Pukpuk's coach Sydney Wesley commended the boys on their efforts, saying they were the best Sevens team he's seen in recent years. This year, head coach of the PNG Sevens team, Fereti Verabula's exit from PNG Rugby Union has caused disruptions to the team's preparations for this weekend's competition in New Zealand. Rapilla told Fiji TV Verabula's resignation with PNG Rugby was due to personal reasons which he could not disclose. Rapilla has a wealth of experience with coaching. He has coached the Trukai Harlequins to victory in the Capital Rugby Union competition and is one of 3 World Rugby certified rugby educators in Papua New Guinea. The PNG Sevens team is in Pool C with Sevens Kings New Zealand alongside England and Canada. While their chances of winning the cup at the games are slim, PNG's primary focus is on gaining as much international exposure and experience to further skill the boys for the Hong Kong Sevens to be held in March. Lorraine Genia, National EMTV Sports.
Petroleum Resources Kutubu Limited, or PRK, has again thrown its support behind the Gulf Isapea Rugby Club for the 2015 Digicel Cup competition. Gulf Governor Havila Kavo today announced the sponsor support with the pledging of 500,000 kina. Kavo believes the continued support and commitment will be a boost for the team in this year's challenge. Meanwhile, the Gulf Governor confirmed that 4 or 5 players will be selected from their sister club in Fiji to join local players in this year's season.
Gulf Provincial Government continue to support it through its PR funds from PRK. Another 500,000 is being committed for that good cause.
And Trukai Sports continues. Fiji struggling to send its contingent to the Pacific Games. I'll give you the details when we come back. Stay with us.
Trukai Sports.
Good to have you back with Trukai Sports. Well, Fiji is struggling to send its teams to compete at the 2015 Pacific Games. With the Pacific Games fast approaching, the Fiji Association of Sports and Olympic Committee is hoping the country will be able to send its athletes to the Games in Port Moresby. Chief Executive Lorraine Ma emphasized the importance of supporting the athletes.
The Fijian Association of Sport and National Olympic Committee is hopeful that the people of Fiji will be able to help send their athletes to the Pacific Games in Port Moresby. A levy fee of 1,625 Fijian dollars is needed for each athlete, and the Fijian Association of Sport believe that with the help of the nation, the Pacific Games target can be met. Lorraine Ma, Chief Executive Officer, said athletes represent Fiji, and when they win, they make the nation proud. In a bid to raise funds for Team Fiji to the Port Moresby Games later this year, the Fijian Association of Sport is selling lottery tickets to the public. The money from the lottery goes back to the sporting organizations who then can use it for their athletes' levy. Corporate entity Abacus Graphics jumped on board with Team Fiji, becoming a champion, providing 3,000 Fijian dollars to the Fijian Association of Sport under the championship program. Winning 33 gold medals and a total of 130 medals at the 2011 Numia Games, Team Fiji is looking at producing better results and believe they can with the support of the nation, being able to send all the athletes to compete at the respective sports at the Games come July in Port Moresby. Dion Kombang, National EMTV Sports.
On a related note, Team Fiji's issue with securing funds for the Pacific Games has resulted in their cricket team's withdrawal from the Games. Cricket Fiji General Manager Inoke Lesuma told the Fiji Broadcasting Corporation while they love to compete at the Pacific Games, their participation at the World Cricket League last year, this year